We don't want to change the world. We want to improve it first.
Everywhere I looked, I saw faces beaming with
I
hope
think
and excitement.
It's not me who chose this work, already chose me
Except
from
to
the first
emphasize
place.
the importance the folk artistic
Some things
expression
about the
links
National
us to
Museum,
our
about the
time.
difficulties, about the safeguarding
coming here
artifacts.
to listen to our story, and we're here to
Only a bookkeeper. This is how he has described himself over the years. But there is one other quality that also defines this Ramon Magsaysay laureate. Washington Sycip, or Wash as he is fondly called, is a problem solver. In the preface to his biography, he thanks his wife Anna for having allowed him to do what he does best. I'm very much indebted to my wife Anna, and it is to her that I dedicate not only this book, but my life work. She raised our children almost single-handedly while I focused on solving the problems of other people. To him, it is through crafting and executing solutions that leaders transform society, especially if these solutions are complemented by educational reform for the bottom poor and are pursued with strong political will. In this initial episode of Asian Leaders Talk, Wash Sycip reflects on many years of observing, pioneering, and nurturing the kind of leadership that has made a difference in Asia and the world.
I'll tell you something very interesting. I found that my 5-year-old grandson was going to a preschool thing that emphasizes engineering. I've asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, engineer.
What's in the mindset of an engineer that makes him a better leader?
Well, it has to be, of course, an engineer that is in a position to solve a problem. Don't you get mad when you're
Stuck in traffic?
Yeah.
Yes. And you think that is an engineering problem?
Well, certainly the solution requires an engineering solution that the government will endorse, and hopefully if the government is an engineer, if the leadership there is a person who understands the traffic problem, then we will be solving the problem rather than talking and then selling more cars, making the problem worse and worse.
Clearly, Wash Sycip puts a lot of value on a leader's ability to come up with good solutions. And while he believes that the country has good people that are leaders, he thinks that carrying out the solutions needs something more. For him, an ideal leader is one who combines sensible solutions with character and political will. If I were to ask you to help me draw or picture the ideal leader, can you describe him to me?
Well, I think Lee Kuan Yew, he was able to unite the people. He was an example.
Why is that important?
Well, because he was honest, but he was also very bright. He knew what the needs of the people are. And they have Muslim problem. He was able to also solve that by having many Muslims that had good education as part of his government.
Ramon Magsaysay always talks about transformative leadership and greatness of spirit. Greatness of spirit, what is it?
Concern for the poor, to my mind. When I was with SUV, a firm that I formed way, way back, I was thinking of developing leadership not only for the firm, but for the nation. At that time, I was developing leadership for the top level, when I thought that the Western model of sending them to Harvard and to Columbia and so on. After I retired from SGB, I saw that at SGB we were successful in creating leadership. But then I found the problem of illiteracy. Now, when you cannot read and write, you cannot get a job. If you cannot get a job, that part of society is useless. You know?
Washington Sycip, being Washington Sycip, has found a way to address this problem. He is collaborating with CARD MRI, a successful microfinance organization with over 1 million poor rural women across the country. CARD MRI, like WASH, is also a Ramon Magsaysay laureate. Their shared concern is to ensure sustained schooling for those whom WASH Sycip calls the bottom poor. Those families whose children cannot avail of free public education because they cannot afford to buy even the rudimentary requirements of school supplies, slippers, uniforms. This problem contributes in a major way to the huge number of public school dropouts among the poor. The WASH Sycip solution? Creating a special fund managed by CARD MRI, from which poor mothers draw small loans to finance their children's basic school needs. Thus far, the collaboration of these two Magsaysay awardees has kept over 200,000 bottom poor students in school to get a basic education. With his additional contribution to the rotating funds, by the end of this year, the number of children who are helped to remain in school will climb to 300,000, with an impressive loan repayment rate of 99%. What started out as his solution to a perennial problem in the country has become a passionate advocacy for inclusive education.
My friends in Makati, when I asked them, have you helped on education for the poor? 90% answers, oh, of course we have. I said, who have you helped? And they said, well, the children of my cook and the children of my driver, always these two. But then I thought, this is not the bottom group, because they have jobs. I mean, they should be willing to help out even though it doesn't affect their own lives.
If we were to distill the years of experience and wisdom WASH Sycip brings to Asia and the world, they would boil down to 3 main points on the requirements for transformative leadership: finding creative solutions, collaborating with individuals and groups, and modeling integrity and greatness of spirit. Still, he cautions, the political and cultural environment can also get in the way of leaders. Did education fail? Did it fail us in producing the leaders we need?
When I left the firm, retired from the firm, I started looking at the whole picture of. Then my major concern was why we were supposed to be the leader, because of 2 factors. At the time they said, because we were a Christian nation and that we had democracy.
Does that work against us?
Both factors were against us instead of being for us.
But in the ASEAN region, not all countries are Catholic.
That's an advantage.
It's an advantage for them. Have they produced better leaders because of that?
Well, all I know is that depending on each country, I follow the progress of each country.
Okay.
When I established a firm in Indonesia, we had to do a lot of training for their people. You know? But somewhere, their overall policies has brought them ahead of the Philippines.
Yeah, it's a sad fact, but where have we failed in trying to get the leaders that we need?
We have educated leaders, but how do they carry out the policy? Every leader wanted a reduction in our population growth, but the church completely opposed it. Then the question is this. The democracy the U.S. preaches everywhere, is that suitable for an emerging market?
Why do you say that?
Because to carry out decisions took so long, and we're unable to do so.
Are you saying that an authoritarian regime is more effective?
Depends on what you mean by authoritarian regime, no? Of course, I cannot help but say India and China were always at the bottom group. India, like the Philippines, adopted completely Western ideas of democracy. Both of us have failed in terms of benefiting the bottom group of our society.
Acerbic words indeed, but they are truly his own. For they are a product of extensive years of dealing with problems head-on and coming up with solutions that matter. Never mind if they ruffle some powerful feathers around. In the end, perhaps the leadership solution has been staring at us for some time. Do you have to be popular to be effective as a leader?
If you are effective, you will be popular.